From Citizen TV, this is the Monday Report with Trevor Ombija.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Thank you so much for tuning in to Citizen TV, and you're just in time for the Monday Report. And yes, I am Trevor Ombija. We hope you had a fantastic weekend, and the week has started fantastic. Now, you must have seen it, that there's a lot of conversations in the political campaign trail. It's not official campaign season yet, but there are political barbs, accusations and counter-accusations being thrown by politicians. There's a concern from others that there's lack of decorum and disrespect among themselves, essentially setting a bad example to the young people who are watching, plus the public. Is it just political banter or lack of decorum and respect among each other? That's what we're going to talk about today, and we're calling it Politics, the Season of Bad Manners. And Cecily Kariuki will be here. She's the former CS, Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. Honorable Samuel Pogisi will be here, former Majority Leader of the Senate. And Kipruto Arap Kirwa, former Agriculture Minister, will speak to them about the current season. Is it just political banter among peers, or is it a lack of respect for each other and therefore setting a bad example for leadership and the people as well? That's a conversation I'd like to hear from you at Trevor Ombija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report, but first, our top stories tonight.
Watoto wamehangaika sana, wanasomea hiyo tunyumba tumejenga ya matope, upepo inachukua. Sasa tukauliza Kitonga Muriwara, ile darasa amesema atatujengea, inaenda wapi?
No classrooms, no water, no electricity. The dire situation facing 6 primary schools in Tharaka Nithi.
From today, number one, by making sure we have upscaled our CCTV coverage in all places and more so in sensitive areas.
It was a system failure and unacceptable. Health CS Duale orders a security overhaul in hospitals following the KNH murder incident.
You need, Mheshimiwa, to start positioning yourself as a national leader, not as a tribal leader.
The Murima question. Backlash in the US as youthful Kenyans fault the Gachagwa's tribe-first politics. Relative calm, but peace in Kerio Valley remains fragile. What is the government's plan? Part 2 of our series, A Valley of Contrasts.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Njoki Shege. A dire situation is unfolding in the Tharaka constituency, where hundreds of learners are learning in crumbling buildings, dilapidated structures, inadequate sanitation, and risks of attacks by snakes, as well as overall lack of amenities. These are just some of the problems affecting pupils and teachers of 6 public schools in the area. Laura Otieno now reports on the education crisis in Tharaka, confirming the funding crisis in the education sector.
A typical day at Kathanga Primary School is filled with the voices of young pupils quenching their thirst for education. From time immemorial, cracked walls, gaping roofs, and an overall state of destitution has been synonymous with this school. Lack of books and blackboards are part of the compounding problems affecting the learners here.
Mtoto anaangalia ile masimu yametoboka kwa ukuta. Yeye afuatane na mambo ya mwalimu, na akisikia wale wengine wakipiga nduru huku nje, mafikira yake hayako kwa darasa.
Sasa mwalimu ako kwa darasa, bumbi iko mpaka kwa magoti. Hata yenyewe ukikutana na yeye akienda nyumbani, unafikiri huyu si mwalimu.
Meters away, a similar situation plays out at Kiairanthi Primary School. This unfinished classroom has been partitioned by rusty iron sheets, holding pupils of several grades. A temporary shield from the scorching sun. Their right to quality education, however, is drying out fast.
Huko kwetu hata watoto ya kwetu wanauliza, wakienda huko tour wanaulizanga na huko kwetu ni Kenya hii, wanakaa kama wameenda ng'ambo.
In a spot check by Citizen TV, this is the situation across 6 schools in Tharaka constituency, including Gateriku, Gakuyu and Kathandeni primary schools. Dormitories are not spared. Every evening, the pupils from different schools walk 8 kilometers to River Tana in search of water. Parents also have to deliver 60 jerrycans of water each term. When the sun sets, the pupils remain engulfed in darkness as the only transformer in the area stands dysfunctional.
Iliwaka, ikaribika, na hata haikuwaka wiki moja. Iliharibika, sasa ni kelele huwa inapiga hapo ndrrr, na kwa sababu sisi hata hatujui ni nini inaweza kutokezea baadaye, tuko na hofu.
Watoto wameshangaika sana, wanasema hiyo tunyumba tumejenga ya matope, upepo inachukua. Sasa tukauliza kitongomu Ruara, ile ndarasa amesema atatujengea, inaenda wapi?
The Constitution of Kenya guarantees the right to free and compulsory basic education for all children. The Basic Education Act prescribing the quality standards for the same. In Tharaka, however, these are far-fetched commitments. Each day, the rhetoric of education being an equalizer fleets away as the learners fall further into the cracks, almost forgotten by the very system that was designed to catapult them into a better life. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Education Cabinet Secretary Migoso Gamba, who appeared in Parliament alongside his Treasury counterpart John Mbadi last week, is now saying that the government is ready to ensure free education is fully funded, adding that the government will look for the required amount of money. Just a week ago, the CS was present as Treasury boss Mbadi told Parliament that the government had no money to meet the requirements in full. Stephen Leto has the details.
Is that coming?
It was in Parliament last week that Treasury CS John Mbadi delivered a bombshell on the state of funding of education, saying the budget as currently contained cannot support the needs of learners.
If you look at the total budget for the year and you divide by the number of students we have in this country, instead of 22,000, we are funding up to about 16,900 shillings. If we work with 22,000 per child for senior secondary school and the 15,000 per child for the junior secondary school, and we work with 1,400 plus per child for pre-primary education, you will get higher figures than what is in the budget.
Education CS Migoso Gamba, who visited Kimana Girls High School in Kajiado South Monday, faced pressure as locals demanded answers.
We look for the money to ensure that no parent is required to pay any money towards that free primary, free secondary education. That is the position. It's not changed.
President William Ruto's cabinet throwing itself into a line of confusion at a critical docket, now forced to make a U-turn from shocking revelations they made before a parliamentary committee. Treasury CS John Mbadi going to an extent of telling the lawmakers that, quote, "We are living a lie."
The budgets cannot support the 22,000 shillings. And Honorable Chair, you know it is Parliament that passes the budget. And you can take the figures and calculate. And I say, you see, the problem is we live a lie. Let me put it.
From Treasury, there is no money, but across to Jogoo House, the statement is out of context.
There is, in this country, a tendency of people just taking things out of context and making a story out of it.
According to Treasury CS John Mbadi, his sentiments about the current budget not being able to sustain the 22,000 capitation was a message to policymakers, the MPs who passed the budget. Mbadi now turning the guns on Parliament. President William Ruto, while jetting out of the country to Ethiopia, only assured of a continued free education, but not on whether money is available. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Let's talk about Health Matters 9. It is now emerging that Kenya will need at least 90 billion shillings to purchase 36 radiotherapy machines, enough to meet the global benchmark of one machine for every 1 million people to treat cancer patients nationwide. Now, the Ministry of Health is pushing for a whole-of-government approach to tackle the disease, which claims nearly 30,000 lives every year. But as Emily Chebet now reports, with donor funding shrinking, stakeholders are now urging the government to elevate non-communicable diseases to the core of its national health agenda.
The official opening of the second National Cancer Summit in Nairobi, leaders turned the spotlight on prevention for a disease that continues to claim thousands of lives across the country. Data from the National Cancer Institute of Kenya shows more than 40,000 new cases are recorded every year, a heavy burden on families and healthcare system alike. A reason Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi is now urging all government agencies to close ranks and fully implement existing guidelines in the fight against cancer.
We are not powerless. We are powerful when we join hands, when we unite our voices, and when we act with purpose. Every Kenyan has a role in this battle. Whether you shape policies, heal patients, educate minds, grow food, or inspire the next generation, your actions matter. Your voice matters.
Even as the country steps up campaigns for early screening and detection, a severe shortage of cancer treatment machines continues to undermine the fight against the disease.
Kenya at the moment is standing at about 19 machines. So we have a deficit of about 36 machines. If you do a rough estimate, that will cost us about 90 billion Kenya shillings just to procure the linear accelerator.
The donor aid that we know that's now declining is actually driven by what we call global health security. It is the disease you have, let me keep it away from my people. So the cancer care of hypertension and diabetes is a national agenda. We will not have an international cancer fund.
Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale emphasized that early detection significantly improves survival rates. However, he notes that 70% of cancer cases in Kenya are still diagnosed at stage 3 or 4, adding that in just 9 months, SHA has already spent 5.8 billion Kenya shillings on cancer care.
Currently, we are burdened by rising cases of cancer, with over 44,000 new cases every year and more than 28,000 deaths every year.
On prevention, the ministry has successfully integrated the HPV vaccine into our routine immunization schedule, targeting adolescent girls aged between 9 and 14 years. We are expanding our community-based screening for breast, cervical, prostate, among other cancers.
The Ministry of Health recently signed an MOU with global pharmaceutical giant Roche to supply targeted therapies for breast and gastric cancer. The agreement slashes the cost of each treatment session from about 120,000 Kenya shillings to just 40,000 Kenya shillings, a game changer for families who have long struggled to afford life-saving care. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV.
On to politics. 9 opposition leaders have accused the police of being used to silence dissenting voices. Speaking at the IPOA offices where they filed formal complaints, opposition leaders raised concerns over how bullets were fired on vehicles belonging to former Kigumo Member of Parliament Jamlek Kamau and former Machakos Town MP Victor Munyaka, while other vehicles were also vandalized in Murang'a on Sunday. Simulator has the details.
Leaders from the opposition Monday marched to the IPOA offices in Nairobi to protest what they termed as police officers being used to muzzle opposition voices. Leaders presented before IPOA investigators vehicles destroyed in Sunday's clash in Murang'a. Vehicles belonging to former Kigumo MP Jamlek Kamau and his Machakos counterpart Victor Munyaka bore bullet sports that the leaders told IPOA were aimed at them.
The police themselves are the ones that attacked us. All those vehicles that have been destroyed, more than 10 or 15 of them, they have been destroyed by police officers in uniform.
They told us to shout totem. And unless we shout totem, they are going to kill us. And they pointed the guns at us, myself and my driver.
DAPK boss Eugene Amalwa say the police was being used to try silence the opposition barely 2 years to the general election.
And the police are being used actually to create a state of fear and terror in the country. We have a reign of terror and the police are the ones being used.
IPOA Chair Isaac Hassan raised alarm over the increasing cases of police using excessive force, saying it has to be tamed before the country gets to the electioneering period.
The unprecedented level of violence that we have seen is a matter of great concern to me. As a former chair of IBC, I think I don't like where it's going. It's going to get bad, and I think we need to have even you guys as the political leaders, perhaps we need to find a way of engaging with your counterparts.
The leaders and victims of the chaos in Murang'a recorded individual statements before IPOA as the Isaac Hassan team starts investigations. Stephen Letos, Citizen TV.
Clinzy Baraza, the police officer caught on a viral video shooting a mask vendor Boniface Kariuki, has been charged with the murder. Baraza denied the murder charge when he appeared before Justice Kanyi Kimondo after he was declared fit to stand trial. Justice Kimondo has directed that the bail application be heard on the 18th of August. He also directed that the bail application to be filed within 7 days and the family of the victim to reply to the application within another 7 days.
Good afternoon, my lord.
And former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's sustained push for what his critics have labeled tribal politics came under sharp scrutiny, with the Kenyans living in the diaspora questioning his stance, including deploying his mother tongue language during meetings with tribally mixed audiences. In what puts Gachagua's cross-Atlantic tour under focus, the outing with the Kenyans in Baltimore saw some bold interventions from youthful participants who accused the former DP of projecting himself as a tribal leader. Here's Ayub Abdikadir.
His international tour of the United States has been unapologetically local. Dancing to tribal tunes, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua proudly basked in the glory of a Murima atmosphere, exporting his rallying call for the unity of the Mount Kenya region, and especially his Kikuyu community. It is a stance that has earned him critics at home, with President William Ruto citing it as their vindication for the impeachment of Gachagua as deputy president. And away from home, it is an ethnic slant that has caused discomfort before an audience of cautiously upbeat Kenyans in Baltimore, some who boldly gave Gachagua a piece of their mind.
You need, Mheshimiwa, to start positioning yourself as a national leader, not as a tribal leader. And I know many people won't like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. The first mistake that has been done in this event is speaking Kikuyu.
Faulting her former lawmaker, Valentine laid bare a label Gachagua has struggled to shed off, both in and out of government, fashioning himself as a regional guarantor. Instead, when asked about remarks he made in Boston, and which placed him at odds with the public.
When you destroy this community, you destroy Kenya. We are the drivers of the Kenyan economy. Since William Ruto declared war on the mountain, the economy is almost collapsing because people have stopped paying taxes, people have stopped investing, they are waiting for a new government.
I watched a speech about you in Boston, and the speech was a good speech, but there is something you said that Kikuyus economic, are more hardworking, paraphrasing, economic, we've grown the country. But we have done that because we are a beneficiary of the system of Jomo Kenyatta.
If I keep quiet, the people will be intimidated to feel sorry about themselves and who they are. Nobody has given the people of Mount Kenya any advantage. If you want a loan, you must place security.
First and foremost is to congratulate you on your very able delivery of our agenda. Umecheza kama wewe.
More bold interventions came from the audience in Baltimore, who cited Gachagua's staunch support for President William Ruto in the last election as a judgment lapse.
Why should we then, close to the election in 2027, trust your judgment when back then it's given us Ruto right now? So why should we trust you in 2027 when we are where we are right now?
Making a mistake is not bad. What is unacceptable is repeating the same mistake. I had the choice to stay with Ruto and oppress Kenyans, and I decided not to.
The former deputy president has for the last 2 weeks embarked on a highly energized foreign-based campaign, locking horns with President Ruto in an intense exchange of cross-Atlantic soundbites, some touching on what the former deputy president is accused of perpetuating: tribal mobilization. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
A new trend is emerging on the country's political landscape. A trend of anything goes, and wives or spouses are now fair game. From Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah to former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, loose tongues are now sparing anyone as political spouses come under attack on the early campaign trail. And as Emmanuel Tona reports, it is a new law for Kenyans' already murky political waters.
In the mighty name of Jesus.
They used to be safe from the crossfire of politics, but that now seems to be something of the past, as political spouses now and regularly take missiles and dirty bombs from political players. Remarks by Kikuyu Member of Parliament Kimani Ichung'wah, who is also the leader of the majority party in the National Assembly in Kajiado's Central Constituency a week ago, opened the window to the dirty laws the early campaign is hitting as manners and ethics take.
Bibi yako ni hapo tu amekukalia kitako, umekaliwa hata uwezi pumua, hata uwezi ongea kama bibi hajaongea. Si unaonanga huyo mtu akienda lazima bibi aongee kwanza ili apewe ruhusa ya kuongea. Sasa wewe mwanaume umekaliwa na bibi, utakuja kuambia wanaume wengine nini? Tunaambia one time kwenda ambia bibi yako.
Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, who is accompanying her husband in the tour of America, clapped back from Boston.
He's not giving me to speak because I don't know, I sit. How can you sit on a man like this? This is a man who is causing a whole nation not to sleep.
Ironically, the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was firing spousal rockets of his own, directing them at the husband of Nakuru Governor Susan Kihika, accusing him of blocking his allies from campaigning in Subukia, Nakuru.
I have talked to the police in Nakuru and they are crying. They are saying the husband of Governor Susan Kihika, called Samburu, is the one who is giving instructions to police. I have told my people and the people of Nakuru to punish him, his wife, one time.
Sasa anauliza bwana yangu nini? Wewe Gachagua anakuonea 18. Wewe you are an extortionist. Na pia niambie mheshimiwa Gachagua unikome. Nimwambie aje anikome.
Kihika sustaining her stinging comeback in an equally rough shootout.
Kwa hivyo kama kuna mahali anataka kupakana mauji, agaekeogwa wa Munyoro, lakini sio hapa. Asijaribu kukuja na hiyo kiherehere yake hapa Nakuru. Akikuja, akuje amekuwa mpole na aongee maneno ya maendeleo ama agenda yake na amani, hatuna shida.
Kwani huyu bwana yake huyu Sam amefanya makosa gani? Na wewe ukitaka kupigana na mambo ya siasa, tafuta Susan.
And so ends the unspoken immunity for political spouses as politics now moves south of the belt. Emmanuel Toa, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Health CS Edan Duale has ordered sweeping reforms in referral hospitals following what he described as a systems failure at Kenyatta National Hospital that led to the brutal murder of Edward Maingi Ndegwa inside a ward. Duale termed the incident as unacceptable and sent condolences to the family. Among the new measures, visitors and those seeking to admit patients will now be required to present a national ID and the patient's registration details. As Ode Francis now reports, all referral hospitals have also been directed to install CCTV cameras in every section of their facility.
10 days after the brutal killing of Edward Maingi Ndegwa in Ward 7B at Kenyatta National Hospital, Health CS Adan Duale has announced sweeping security reforms to overhaul operations in all referral hospitals.
So we are going to introduce in all our referrals from today, number one, by making sure we have upscaled our CCTV coverage in all places and more so in sensitive areas.
Security reforms go beyond surveillance. Visitors and those transporting patients will now face stricter regulations.
We'll ask every person, including the police, if you bring a patient to the emergency and casualty here, and you have picked that Kenyan from the streets, your vehicle, your ID card, your name must remain with us. We must have some sort of traceability of the patients that come to our hospitals. It will never be again where you drop a patient and you go away.
Currently, more than 400 patients are under the care of Kenyatta National Hospital with no traceable family links, either due to financial constraints or lack of identification. CS Duale was speaking during an inspection tour of Kenyatta Hospital aimed at evaluating the new reforms focused on patient safety and institutional accountability.
443 long-stay and abandoned patients. 211 of them are abandoned by their next of kin, and 232 have been discharged, but they are unable to leave our facilities, our all referral facilities, due to social or financial barriers.
At the same time, Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen has urged referral hospitals to act on intelligence from security agencies, citing the Kenyatta National Hospital crisis as an example of the risks of ignoring such alerts.
When we give them information regarding persons within the hospital, they take it seriously. Because I think that in some instances, had we taken seriously reports that came from the DCI, we could not have been having the situation that we had in KNH. So it's important for all of us to take security information seriously.
Meanwhile, a grieving mother has accused Kenyatta Hospital of negligence, claiming her daughter died in her hands due to delayed care.
Venye mtoto aliaga kwa mkono yangu nilimwekelea hapo na nikareta shida sana. Wakajaribu kuangalia ni shida ni wapi. Wananiambia wameona makosa ya nurses, wameninigrate sana kwa sababu hakunitia daktari akuje angalia mtoto. Wakaniambia mam ni pole sana, hata kama tutarudisha mtoto wako tumeona kuna gap mahali kwa hospitali.
Make sure you take the details of that lady and make sure tomorrow morning she goes to KMPDC and she files a complaint. Yeah. And her case is investigated and I must be brought the file. You'll get justice, at least from us.
Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, the High Court in Kibera has fined 6 police officers 10,000 shillings each or 3 months in jail for failing to testify in the case against former Pangani police officer Ahmed Rashid, accused of killing 2 teenagers in 2017. Justice Rachel Kavetsa, who is presiding over the case, also ordered the officers to appear in person at the next hearing despite their written explanations for missing court. As Gamau Mwangi now reports, the session also saw the presentation of CCTV footage showing how police tracked suspected members of the notorious Gaza gang in the moments leading to the shooting.
Proceed. As the quest for justice in the 2017 killing of teenagers Jamal Mohammed and Mohammed Dair at Islai's Amal Plaza resumes, 6 key witnesses scheduled to testify on Monday failed to appear, forcing the court's hand. Presiding Judge Diana Rachel Kavetsa slapped 6 officers from the same unit as prime suspect Ahmed Rashid with a 10,000 Kenya shillings fine each or a 3-month jail term for skipping testimony.
And they pour when they hear that.
Of the 6 absent witnesses who are part of the 25 lined up by the prosecution, one reportedly vanished mysteriously after arriving for court.
And should they give a reasonable and satisfactory explanation in writing before the mentioned date, the court may reconsider its decision. For now, that is the order of the court.
However, the court heard how police had deployed plainclothes officers to confront suspected members of the dreaded Gaza gang, acting on intelligence about a planned armed attack on Eastleigh businesses. CCTV footage presented in court offered a minute-by-minute account of the gang's movements.
They cross over from Tarahan Hotel to 4th Street, and they are crossing back to 4th Street. That's the flow of the evidence, isn't it? Yeah.
But the officers who are stationed under to deal with that menace completely wiped out that car. Is it still existing? No, we should honor them.
The officers, whose testimonies are key to the case, have been ordered to appear in person at the next hearing.
Thank you. We'll bring carrots.
Kamau Mwangi, Citizen TV.
All right, let's take a quick break here on the Monday Report. We're back with much more in just a bit, including...
Relative calm, but peace in Kerio Valley remains fragile. What is the government's plan? Part 2 of our series, A Valley of Contrasts. Agribusiness farm Sassini reaping benefits from sustainability initiatives even as it commits to net zero emissions by 2050.
Terra Gardens by username. Just 20 minutes from Gong Town. Get your 8th acre plot for only 699,000 shillings. SMS GONG to 20321 or call 0725 000 222.
Business News, brought to you by Definite Assurance. We've got you covered. Fast claims settlement, PSV, private and commercial vehicle insurance. Visit definiteassurance.com. Definite Assurance. You are definitely covered. Uko nao.
Time now for some business news. In agribusiness firm Sassini PLC is doubling down on sustainability, unveiling its 2024 report with fresh commitments to clean energy, forest restoration, and fair labor practices. The company, a major exporter of tea, coffee, avocado, and macadamia, says it is embedding environmental and social responsibility at the core of its operations. Here's Jasmine Wamboi with that report.
At the heart of Sassini's 2024 sustainability report is a renewed push for ethical business and climate action. Group Managing Director Martin Ochieng says the company is anchoring its growth on diversification, regional expansion, tech-driven efficiency, and a firm commitment to ESG. The agribusiness is already seeing the benefits of aligning to global sustainability standards with improved market access and investor interest.
If we didn't do this, there's some markets we wouldn't be accessing today. Why? Because in most places, especially in Europe, the adherence to ESG has become compliance related. So it's low. And so if you're a supplier of products going into Europe and you're not running your business sustainably, that market gets closed down for you. And so it does open doors for us and it keeps us ahead of our competition. Though we are not doing it for that reason, we are really doing it to be a responsible citizen.
Sassini has also rolled out a living wage program in the tea sector, paying workers about 11,000 shillings above the minimum wage. This at a time when only 19% of workers across the continent earn a living wage. The company says no corruption cases were reported in 2024.
We've taken a strong stand to run a business that is above board, that is driven by governance principles, that is clean. And we avoid customers who are lucrative but corrupt.
And on the environmental front, Sassini plans to scale up its tree cover from the current 1.43 million trees to 3 million by 2030, while expanding the use of solar power and adopting regenerative farming practices. The firm has also begun measuring its carbon footprint as part of its net zero journey, with 6 months of emissions data already collected.
And so businesses like Sassini are uniquely positioned to drive innovation, influence supply chains, create decent jobs, as well as unlock new markets, all while aligning with the Sustainable Development Goals.
Sassini says it will continue to seek strategic partnerships to drive its sustainability agenda. Sustainability reporting is increasingly becoming a key marker of responsible business here in the country, helping companies attract investors and also strengthen consumer trust. For companies like Sassini, it provides a clear roadmap on governance, ethical labor, and even climate action. Jasmine Wambui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
So the Kenya Bankers Association says that its customers can now expect more transparency and clear disclosure in the new credit pricing model. The move follows the Central Bank of Kenya's directive aimed at finalizing the transition to a new risk-based credit pricing framework, a move that is expected to significantly alter how banks price loans and interact with borrowers. This would mark a shift from the long-standing central bank rate to a market-driven interbank rate as the primary benchmark for loan pricing. Jimmy Bogo explains.
In the central bank's proposal of April 2025 on risk-based pricing, the regulator sought to have commercial banks use the central bank rate CBR as the common reference rate for determining the lending rates in the banking sector, with the use of premium K, which would consider the bank's operating costs related to lending, return to shareholders, and the borrower's risk premium. A proposal that the umbrella body for banks, Kenya Bankers Association, pushed back on, noting that it was equivalent to an indirect interest rate cap. CBK then yielded ground, saying that, and I quote, that the respondents proposed the use of interbank rate to align with the global best practice, where the base rates are derived from short-term market rates. According to the bankers' umbrella body KBA, this, and I quote, will enhance transmission of monetary policy and transparency to customers on how lending rates are determined by banks. KBA further argues that the use of benchmark rate and the inclusion of the premium K, which largely reflects the cost of funds and the customer's own risk profile, will enable customers to understand their risk profile and deliberately seek for ways to improve it, noting that, and I quote, this ultimately reduces interest rate on loans they receive from banks. All factors driving lending rates will also be disclosed to customers on the total cost of credit that KBA co-hosts with the CBK. Crucially, according to the Kenya Bankers Association CEO Raymond Molenje, the model also promises to expand credit access to groups that have been historically excluded from mainstream lending, noting that by facilitating flexibility in pricing, banks can effectively serve all risk categories in their models, thereby affording to extend credit to all while ensuring that their price mirrors their respective risk profile. The adjustment in risk-based pricing model is expected to provide a lasting solution in unlocking credit to the private sector. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Glass bottle waste is a growing environmental concern in Kenya, despite the country adopting the extended producer responsibility model, which requires producers to manage the environmental impact of their products. As part of tackling the glass waste problem, a local entrepreneur is now upcycling glass bottles into useful products such as vases and cups. In our Made in Kenya segment, Edward Chua tells us how Mokomaya is now working with corporates to upcycle the glass into useful products.
When the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2020, Nyandia Kamawe quit her job as a fine arts teacher to make products from glass bottle waste. Infusing her knowledge of fine arts and passion for environmental conservation, she founded Mokomaya.
Mokomaya is a company that is closing the loop on glass bottle waste. At the time, it was a creative business because that's my background, and with time has evolved into a sustainable business. We are disrupting that cycle and going directly to the bars, the outlets, the houses, and having that bottle waste come directly to us. Then we cut it and convert it into things that you can use for your home, office, and garden.
From drinking glasses to bowls and platters, Mokomaya makes many products from the glass bottle waste using designs developed by Nyandia and her team.
So the first step is cutting, and once you cut, the edges are rough, so you require to smoothen or to take the edges, the hard edges off. And the final process is the polishing. So after that, it goes into cleaning, and if we are decorating it, then it's either going to be hand-painted. We either add an accent of wood or brass.
She partners with corporates to enhance sustainable waste management. To meet the extended producer responsibility guidelines, the venture gets most of the glass bottle waste from beverage maker EABL.
We work with EABL through a program called Rudisha. Rather than the outlets that are selling their products, taking the stuff to Dandora or to wherever they take them, we disrupt them at that point, and then we cut them, and then again supply them back to them for drinking glasses. We also do a lot of corporate gifting. We partner with different brands so that we are able to give them something that speaks to their brand in terms of alignment when it comes to color, to shapes, and those things. We also have a B2C segment, which is about 10%.
Mokomaya only employs female artisans as part of the plan to empower and impart life-changing skills in them.
I have been here now 6 months, going to 7 months. My work is at the production unit. This is where we recycle the glasses using the machines. I learned everything here at Mokomaya. Before I came here, I was actually a mama fua. With the mama fua jobs, it's not so stable like here. It's a source of livelihood for me. I come here, I earn.
It's intentional because I realized that there's a gap in terms of available opportunities in my immediate community. We are able to upskill them, give them skills in cutting glasses, in polishing them, in painting them, and then use those skills to earn a living.
And as Nyandia says, they look to diversify into more products.
We are going to be able to do more with glass than what we currently have to offer. We are also going to go into more products. So we are looking at going into more handmade products that are sustainable. So products that are good for people and planet is our focus.
Glass forms part of our daily packaging, especially in the beverage sector. But when left to get into our environment, glass leads to pollution and degradation. It is therefore imperative to properly manage glass waste. And this is exactly what Mokomaya is doing here in Dagoretti. Era Chwea, Made in Kenya, Citizen TV.
Business news.
After losing dependable attacker Mohamed Wajaber, who was signed for Tanzania giant Simba FC, knocking him out of the CHAN tournament. Now this comes at a time when the opening match in the African Nations Championship, that is CHAN, has sold out, with all 44,000 tickets taken a week before the match against the Democratic Republic of Congo. The match will be played at the Moi International Sports Center in Kasarani on Sunday, the 3rd of August. Kickoff at exactly 3 p.m. Meanwhile, the team intensified their training at the Kasarani Stadium, with the technical bench now working on technical play and keeping the players fit and fresh. Football Kenya Federation has not announced any friendly matches for the team, with coach Benny McCarthy confident that the team can go into the competition without any friendly matches. Harambe Stars are in a tough Pool A, dubbed the Group of Death, that has two-time winners Morocco, DRC Congo, who have also won the competition twice, COSAFA champions Angola, as well as Zambia. Kenya will play DRC, then Angola, followed by Morocco and Zambia.
Tunajua the big names that are coming, they've been there. So for the ones of us who are going for a major tournament for the first time, tuna expect pia ku give a lot. Juu tunajua ni platform na ni stepping stone to a more higher level.
Two-time champions Morocco are the first to arrive for the 2024 African Nations Championship CHAN, setting the tone for what promises to be an electrifying tournament co-hosted by Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda. The Atlas Lions landed at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi at 4 a.m. local time on Monday morning, receiving a vibrant East African welcome complete with traditional dancers. The North African giants, aiming to become the first country to win the CHAN title 3 times, are wasting no time in getting acclimatized as they begin their final preparations for the tournament opener. They begin their campaign on Sunday against Angola at the Nyayo National Stadium. Now, Greg Snow led from the start to finish to win the 2025 Professional Golf Kenya Equator Tour tournament that was played in 4 rounds in Limuru. Greg Snow made his intentions known early with an impressive round of 68 in round 1. He was one better in the second round with a score of 67 before scoring 70 and 71 in round 3 and 4. His total score was a remarkable 12 under par 276. Njoroge Kibugu maintained his consistency in the tour, finishing 2 strokes behind Snow with a score of 10 under par 278. In third place was Mohit Medirata with a score of 8 under par 280. Gator Rodel from Uganda and John Karichu rounded off the top 5, both carding 7 under par 281.
This is a very good thing that has happened to professional golf in Kenya, and I think with the results and the scores, it really speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think it's improving. We've got some good players coming along, like obviously Jorge, a few other guys. Yeah, the level of golf is improving now that we've got sponsors and stuff. You can see by the scores. But in terms of that, yeah, I mean, things are getting better and better.
Golf is on an upward trend. There's a lot of improvement. Looking since the launch of the Equator Tour, we have played Ruilu, now we are playing here. Looking by what the scores are, it means there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of talent. And I think with more events, we are going to see even better scores than what we are seeing now.
Now, with the final preparations being held today ahead of the opening ceremony of the Kenya Secondary School Association Term 2 Games in Kakamega, every school is gearing up for the slots to represent Kenya in the East African School Games to be hosted also in the Western region. Our very own Lukman Mahmood caught up with the boys soccer defending champions Highway Secondary and filed this report.
Secondary school football champions Highway Secondary is situated in the outskirts of South B in Nairobi. Here, the students are sitting their final Term 2 exams with the Kenya Secondary School Sports Association National Games in sight. But how do they balance studies and sports?
It always zeroes down to time management na kujipanga, na nashukuru sana kwa sababu mwalimu wetu mkuu Bwana Irungu kuna vile ametupanga.
With their last year final against Musingu still fresh in their mind, the Baldino Demba-led side is counting on their experience and togetherness when they approach the games from Tuesday in Kakamega.
Okay, target ya this year ilikuwa kudefend hizo vikombe za last year zote, of which tulianza na regionals tukai-defend, so tunaenda kudefend the national. Halafu target kubwa sana this year ni kubeba the East Africa, cause nikiwa form 1 tulienda East Africa but tuli lose the final match against Chibuli.
Beside their main training ground, the school has another team which is said to be a feeder team ahead of the next year games. Highway are not only giants in football but also in other disciplines, as explained here.
Kuna wale players wenye wako na uwezo ndio, lakini si uwezo kuliko ya senior team. Wako bado junior, so wana grow with time.
Having players who are now playing at the top tier leagues from the school, the players are optimistic of following in their footsteps to greater heights. The likes of Humphrey Aroko, who was in the Kenya Under-20 squad in AFCON this year, has left a huge mark for the upcoming young ones.
Challenges zinakuanga kutafuta players wenye wata fit in. Obviously wezi fit in venye wale kuna fit in, lakini mimi naaminia tukipractice kuanzia mapema preparation ndio inakuanga maana sana.
Prior to their trip to Kakamega, Highway Secondary were crowned FKF Nairobi West champions after a 4-1 win over Baltimore in the final. Highway, who are representing Nairobi region, are placed in Group B alongside Kirangari of Central, St. Joseph Kitale of Rift Valley and Coast Serani Secondary. With the entrance of new names in the National Championship, which is set to kick off on Tuesday in Kakamega, Highway Secondary are optimistic of defending their national championship in the school games in soccer boys. Lukman Mahmood, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And finally, Kenya got off to a bad start in beach volleyball, losing 2-1 to host Algeria in the ongoing Africa School Games. Kenya lost in straight sets of 21-8 and 21-5. At the same time, the Kenya cycling team is getting ready for a tough ride in the competition against the North African teams. Team Kenya that arrived in Algeria on Sunday hit the road immediately to fine-tune their skills ahead of the competition. Lance Kangangi will carry the Kenyan flag in the boys' competition, while Mercy Eregai, who is the only girl in cycling. The two will be up against a formidable team from the host Algeria that has 15 cyclists, 8 boys and 7 girls. The competition will be on a loop of 7 kilometers. The first competition will be the time trial of just one loop on Tuesday, July 29th. The road race competition overall, the weekend will see the girls do 7 laps to cover 49 kilometers, while the boys will do 8 laps to cover 56 kilometers. 11 countries will take part, with Algeria, South Sudan, and Egypt having the largest teams.
Since we arrived yesterday, we've been trying to acclimatize as fast as possible. The boy and the girl have been doing a little bit of spinning and also going up the hills and flats. We've been trying to see how we can attack on the mountains and corners, and we feel it's a good thing.
Where are manners? Politicians trade barbs, accusations and counter-accusations as season heats up.